Welcome to Ideagen TV. We're thrilled to have with us today the founder, chairman, and global chief investment officer at Calamos Investments, Mr. John Calamos. John, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, George. Thank you.
You know, it's an incredible moment in time, John, and certainly what an incredible career you have had and continue to have in the financial industry. To set the stage for our global audience, the millions of individuals that will see this interview, can you tell us a little bit about yourself as well as your role as chairman and founder, global chief investment officer at Calamos Investments?
Yes, George, be glad to. I think I look at myself as an example of living the American dream. I'm from a Greek immigrant family that came to the United States and struggled through the Depression. Our family values and strong work ethic was very valuable to me. I grew up in Chicago and was the first in my family to go to college. As a teenager, I got interested in the stock market and invested some of my parents' savings. Worked my way through college and studied finance at Illinois Tech. Also went through ROTC, and I also got interested in philosophy in college, and that was very important in any success I've achieved today. It taught me about critical thinking and the history of the world through philosophy and how many countries struggled over the centuries. It's important that students today know that they are in school not to learn what to think, but to learn how to think. Before I founded Calamos Investments, I served in the Air Force as a combat pilot, as a forward air controller in Vietnam. When you have downtime in the military, there's not often a lot to do. So part of my training, I was stationed at Minot, North Dakota, flying B-52s on airborne alert. I had plenty of time to read and really got back interested into finance. And that's when I became interested in convertible securities, which were a niche investment. And to me, it was about how can I use something to manage risk? I was really intrigued by convertibles and how they could use to provide more risk management strategies in the stock market. After my military service, I began in the investment industry, this is 1970, using convertibles to enhance returns and, of course, again, manage risk. Calamos Investments came from these roots, building on the foundation of convertibles and risk management. Today, we are now a global firm managing strategies throughout the world. A few years ago, I decided to appoint a CEO, John Kadunas, to work with me to oversee and direct our business growth. And this has helped me to return to really focusing on the investment side of the business, managing the portfolio management teams, and that's been working out very well. I also chair our investment committee. So that's kind of the background of how I got started in the business.
Well, what an incredible background, and I would be remiss if I first did not say thank you for your service. We are deeply honored because of you. We all enjoy, this freedom in the United States. So we want to make sure we first and foremost offer that note of thanks. And what an incredible journey. You truly, living the American dream. Being able to start with humble roots and end up running an incredible company, to say the least, is really, truly remarkable. And so when you first started your firm in 1977, what was the industry like? And what have been some of the biggest changes that you've seen?
Well, I started in the investment business in 1970, started the firm in 77, but throughout the 70s, it was a very difficult environment. When I started in 1970, first thing that happened was the market really took a tumble, crashed there in the early 70s, very volatile environment and very different in the sense of the cycles were very short back then. And so what I was doing was really looking for solutions to really manage risk in those very difficult times. And throughout those periods, the convertible strategy that I was utilizing was working very well. In fact, the options market opened in, I think, 73, 74. And I also use options with convertibles, as a convertible arbitrage strategy in those days. And really, that became the foundation of the firm I started in 1977. Because of that, we were really able to carve out a niche based on that expertise. And it's really a lot different today, of course, because the information moves a lot faster today than it did back then. Part of what I did was create our own investment tools, and how we do that, I end up writing 2 books on convertibles and how to utilize them. So it's a very different environment. Today, technology innovation has meant we have a tremendous amount of information at our fingertips, but markets are moving very fast. As you know, markets can move up and down off a headline. So it's really a different environment. The second key to change is globalization. Markets and economics are connected and truly a world of opportunities. You've got to be thinking globally. One other change has been that the individual investors today have more access to different types of investment strategies, including alternative strategies. That used to be only available to institutional investors and hedge funds. We're proud to have been a forefront of many of those trends in our business.
Incredible. And so what would you say has been and have been the keys to your success in the investment sector?
Well, again, George, I think it's my military background and my education and even the work ethic has been really a key, and to me, it was how do you manage risk? And the parallel to the, my military background, I'm a pilot. That's what I was. I was a pilot. I flew B-52s, I flew A-37s, fighters. You better do your homework before you take off. If something happens, you want to be able to make sure you've managed that risk. So that's sort of the parallel. The other parallel is the focus on teamwork. How to come together as a team. You have a mission, and you have to watch each other's back, and you have to serve towards that mission. And our mission was to serve our clients well, do well by them. And so we needed to build on that, and that's what we did over the years. You have to be able to have everyone come together so you can connect the dots. We've been committed to putting our clients first and in uniting the teams. Growing up, I lived above my parents' small grocery store in Chicago, and actually the first money I ever invested was some of their nest egg when I was a teenager. And from that very early age, I understood that managing other people's money was a tremendous responsibility. We view ourselves as stewards of our clients' capital. And part of what we see as trends develop within the world and in our industry, innovation is really important. So innovation by creating strategies could help manage that risk. And we created the first open-ended convertible mutual fund back in 1985. Using convertible arbitrage, we created the market neutral fund back in 1991, which was one of the first mutual funds in the alternative area. And the other really extremely important focus is really leadership. And bringing the teams together and managing that is extremely important. As I mentioned earlier, a few years ago, I hired John Kadunas as my CEO to work with me to oversee, and he's been very instrumental in helping us expand the business. That's been very positive. And one of the things you learn over the years, you can't do everything yourself. You have to have the right team with you and have them all focused on the same mission. And that's been very important to our success.
That's right. And we've seen John Kadunis. I mean, he's an incredible CEO. And as I remarked to you in the green room prior to our interview, what a great pick, CEO. It's probably the most, or one of the most important decisions you've probably ever had to make, right? As you sought out someone to take on this role of CEO. So incredible. And so, Mr. Calamos, how have you seen innovation play such a big role in your sector? And how has Calamos Investments incorporated innovation into your business model, which is obviously an extremely successful model?
Yeah, there's a number of areas of innovation that come to my mind when you ask me that question. First of all, it's really looking for solutions to help manage risk and help our clients do well. Obviously, technology is really right there. When I started in the business, I remember buying my first Apple computer and learning how to program and that type of thing. And so technology is how we can connect to the people much more through information and through service around the world. Access is so rapid now. So technology has been a key driving to globalization and opening the door to investment opportunities. And we try and use technology in a lot of different ways. We've created proprietary models and quantitative screens to help us focus on our fundamental research and help us leverage our talent within the company. The technology infrastructure for our teams supported a seamless transition to Wi-Fi. We believe an important part of service our clients means investing in technology resources for our teams. Because of our focus on continuous technology improvement, we have not missed a beat, and we shifted to a work from home model when the pandemic took a hold a few months back. So investing in innovative companies is also important. Seeking out innovators is a key part of our investment process. Companies at the cutting edge of innovation, whether it's large household names or biopress companies or small caps, we're looking for companies that really have significant long-term opportunities. So developing innovative investment strategies, one thing that has set Calamos apart from the pack is a willingness to seek out new ways to help clients achieve their investment goals. That started with our use of convertibles. We also were among the first to introduce liquid alt strategies. We've also been innovators in the closed-end fund space as well. We've launched products there that combine different asset classes and provide capital appreciation and income. So, that's been the overall theme behind us.
Well, and that innovation is really a key to the implementation of your leadership style. The leadership that you alluded to early on is evident in everything you've done throughout your career. And I absolutely love how you connected your role as a pilot with the leadership and the teamwork. I think it's incredible to think about the nexus between all that you've done in your career and how it didn't just happen by accident. It happened with a lot of hard work. It happened with incredible perspective from your humble roots. It happened with, a looking around the corner, being able to see around the corner or to be able to sort of at least be in tune with what the trends are so that you can better assist your clients and those that you're helping across the planet with your investment model is incredible. So why do you see cross-sector collaboration and innovation, of course, as so vital to helping solve so many of the world's most vexing issues? And perhaps to go a bit further, how do you infuse collaboration into your daily mission to successfully achieve your goals at Calamos?
Well, there are complex problems that need to be addressed from multiple perspectives, as you know. You need both a depth and breadth of knowledge. In a healthy investment organization, you need to have both specialized domain expertise and a collaborative culture that allows for sharing of insights and information. And again, here, technology is really important because that leverages that talent. You can't have somebody do everything. That really increases productivity in there. So technology was very important in that. Understanding the growth prospects of a U.S. company is more than just studying the company's balance sheet. You need to understand the competitive environment and long-term demand trends, which is more often than not global. That's why talking to CEOs and hearing these conferences are really important. We have analysts that are focused on specific sectors and also with specific regional focus. They can share domain expertise to help each other identify the best opportunities for our portfolios. And another very important point is long-term investment themes are very important because it focuses on the long-term factors that are driving companies to adapt to the future, and we're looking for those opportunities in the future, see which companies are really adapting to those long-term investment themes. And there are a lot of ways we can do this. Our teams have lots of ongoing informal dialogue as well as more formal check-in. And we don't all have to agree on everything, but we do have to collaborate. That's why we have investment committee meetings, we have sector meetings, we have a lot of communication with each other, which I think has been very important.
And that perspective goes directly to my next question, Mr. Calamos, which is the topic of leadership. Leadership is absolutely critical, especially during this time.
Yeah.
If we were to go back in time when you first started your career, what bit of advice would you provide to yourself and why?
Well, I think it's really, as I look back, I think it's really having a focus on what we're doing. And to me, the business, if you think about the business, you're on a bicycle and you're riding a bike uphill. So the business is growing as you pedal. When you stop pedaling, you're going downhill. So you got to keep pedaling and adapting to the new world we're in. It's changing all the time. So it's really important that we're adapting to that. That's why leadership is so critical. What I've learned over the years, some people just don't want to adapt to the new world. And that's not going to work. We have to adapt to the world we find ourselves in. And today is a good example. What's the new normal going to be, given everything we're all going through right now? So we don't want just one way of doing things. We want to make sure we continue to adapt to the new world. And I think as I look back, as your question is, I think what really got me thinking about this was when I was in college, I really got interested in philosophy, and even some of the Greek philosophers like Socrates, questioning things with an eye of solving problems in a positive way. You have to really learn how to think. Effective leaders also encourage them around them to have questions in a collaborative way. Collaboration between teams is especially important. So critical thinking is really important, and having that good discussion is really been important.
And I agree. I mean, I think when we speak to global leaders, which we do daily, and the theme that comes across over and over and over is that the importance of not only understanding and looking at the issues, but also of being able to simply listen, to be able to listen to other perspectives, to gain that critical insight into what others are thinking and doing. It's a very important, but very difficult for some folks to do that, because, they might be just feeling as though, they've mastered their specific discipline or whatever it may be, but there's constant change. And the way you just described it, especially from a business standpoint, to continually pedal, to not stop pedaling, because when you do, that means you're declining. And it's a metaphor really for life and ultimately for leadership, which is what we most admire about everything that you've done, is that you've successfully achieved all of these goals with absolute class and dignity, and ultimately embody that leadership component, which is so critical.
Yeah.
As you know, at Ideagen, we focus on creating awareness and contributing to the ultimate achievement of the 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, to try to help achieve those by 2030. As such, a leader, what are your 3 key insights for helping to achieve those goals?
Well, I really do think it's important. And, from remembering my studies and what we're doing and the history of everything, economic freedoms are a key for improving the quality of life around the world. Entrepreneurship, small business growth have been the really linchpins for helping people achieve prosperity. And we can't forget that. These freedoms include rule of law, private property rights, clear and transparent accounting practices in markets, reasonable level of regulation. These are actual things that we pay very close attention to, and we assess relative attractiveness of investing in different markets. Secondly, the companies that score well on a sustainability and corporate governance can be very attractive investment opportunities. Environmental, social, governance considerations are gaining increasing attentions in investing. But for many years, our team has recognized that paying attention to things like corporate governance can really help you identify companies with the best position to grow. Thirdly, every business can move the needle in a small way to a better world. At Calamos, we take many forms, from an educational stipends to healthcare benefits to our green building. We also have internships every year. We like working with the colleges and bringing in interns. So those are the really important things going forward.
Incredible. And so, having that impact is embedded in everything you're doing at Calamos Investments. Mr. Calamos, what is your call to action for our global audience?
Well, I think especially now, when there is so much uncertainty in the world and so much loss due to the pandemic, we need to remember humankind has addressed many problems that seem to be insurmountable. We need to believe a solution is out there that gives us all to tackle it. Seek our ways to express your commitment to sustainable development goals. Calamos has been a signatory of the UN Principles for Responsible Investment. We expressed that over the years. We need to remember that governments are not the total solution. Private sector is extremely important. Governments is important as a referee to make sure societies are treated fairly. Innovation, solutions, and prosperity has come from the growth of the private sector. It creates innovation and solutions. The pandemic is a good example of where the vaccine will be coming from. Many companies are seeking this solution, and that's where the vaccine will come from. So the achievement of the United Nations Sustainable Goals will come from the creativity and innovation of people being inspired to be creative and innovation. That happens more effectively in the private sector than the government over-regulating the private sector. We've learned that from history for years, and we keep repeating the things that don't work. So decreased regulation is one of the key to successful economic growth and prosperity for everyone. That's what the American dream is all about. That's what we need to focus on. And if I go back to philosophy a little bit, instead of having some of the debates where one has an idea, somebody else has an idea, but you can't discuss it through logic, is not the way to do it. We need to get back to discussing different ideas through logic to come up with the right solution instead of just banging at each other. That's my opinion, George.
Well, oh my gosh, is that timely advice? And what inspiration! You truly are the embodiment of leadership, and your advice today for the millions of individuals that will watch this interview is priceless. It's absolutely priceless. You've tied it all together with incredible insights and wisdom, Mr. Calamos. Ideagen was to present you in person with the 2020 Global Leadership Award. We are doing so today virtually in recognition of your incredible contributions to humanity, to the planet, to business, and to society. And for that, we are honored. We will watch a brief bio video and come back for some comments from you, Mr. Calamos, 2020 Global Leadership Award, Ideagen.
John Calamos, Chairman of Calamos Investments, joins us here at the Belgian Global Investment Conference here in Beverly Hills. Thanks so much for joining us, John.
My pleasure.
Well, I think it's not whether to be in stocks or bonds, not one or the other. It's really how much you're weighting one against the other.
The market keep climbing?
Well, I think it can, Kelly. We're in kind of the risk-on, risk-off phase.
Managing money is both an art and a science. The science part is really getting knee-deep into the financial statements, looking at different models that help us understand the world, help us understand what valuations are all about. So we use multiple models for all of that. Quite frankly, I'm in the camp that I'd like to see us see rates go up and get into a normal interest rate environment.
Will they do it this year?
You know,
It's anybody's guess, right?
yeah, it's anybody's guess. You know, it's not if they do it. You know,
It's
it's
when.
when.
Do certain areas look like they have a little bit more potential to continue growth, while other areas may be looking like they're reaching, somewhat of a plateau at this point?
Well, one of the more difficult things about looking at commodities is the price momentum that happens to have. Very often you see prices going up without demand. We feel that for investors to create wealth over the long term, that they must manage risk. It's all about how you manage that risk rather than not taking the risk. So what I've tried to do over my career in finance is really build strategies around how can we best manage risk in the financial markets.
John Calamos, risk management strategy pioneer, decorated Vietnam War veteran, founder of Calamos Investments that grew from a one-man shop to become a multi-billion-dollar global asset management firm. Our story begins in the village of Vurvura in Arcadia in the Peloponnese. His family roots are traced back to the 1700s, where his propapu, his great-grandfather Yorgos Kalamoutsos, lived in Vurvura with his family. John's papu, Evangelos, was the first to emigrate to the U.S. as part of the great immigration wave of the late 1800s and 1900s. Evangelos arrived in 1908. John's patera, Petros, Peter, arrived in 1915, and he earned a living peddling produce from a wagon. Years later, he would meet John's mother, Maria, who was born in America but hailed from the same region. The couple had 3 children and 3 employees, Angelo, John, and Lorraine. John was the middle child, born in 1940, just as America was about to enter the fray of World War II. Their work ethic was drilled into them at an early age, working very long and hard hours before and after school and on weekends. Everyone pitched in to make Pete's Market a success, and the family lived right above the market.
We lived above the store, so we had a terrific pantry. The whole store was our pantry.
John was the first in the family to go to college at the University of Illinois and later the prestigious Illinois Institute of Technology. He joined the Air Force ROTC, and as the conflagration in Vietnam built up, John decided to enlist in the United States Air
All of a
Force.
sudden, I'm in this very competitive situation, and 1 year later, I'm flying supersonic jets at night in formation.
John's military service taught him many things: to temper his instincts to safeguard against risk, instincts that transcended the cockpit of a jet fighter and B-52 bomber to the Wall Street's trading floors. He earned a Distinguished Flying Cross Medal and completed his service at the rank of Major. This came a brief stop at a brokerage firm before he decided to open his own shop. His insight, passion, and demeanor resonated with integrity, and his small shop grew to a multi-billion-dollar global asset management firm. Today, the Calamos name is synonymous with risk management instruments. John, a pioneer of convertible bonds. His son, John Jr., works alongside, as does Laura's daughter. She also serves as president of the National Hellenic Museum, where John serves as the museum's chair. John was married to his work until he met the love of his life, May, who runs her own businesses. The two tied the official Eastern Orthodox knot in Chicago, with his cuñado, none other but Dean Metropolis. For those that know John well, they soon discover that family's always been at the core of John's identity, and that his friends are more than just friends. They are his family. John also never forgot the importance of the thing that grounds him the most, his roots and identity. They gave him the confidence and resolve to achieve. This is the driving force that motivated him to document the history, remember his family, a story that needs to be recorded for future generations at the National Hellenic Museum.
It really helps me honor my mother and my father. It's a tribute to them. The contribution that the Greek Americans have made to the United States. It's very important that we document that going forward. I am very, very concerned that if we don't do it in this generation, it'll be lost forever. So I think it's really important that we try to do the best job we can to preserve that and give that strength of heritage to the children.
George, it's a true honor to have been selected as one of the recipients of the Global Leadership Award. I had the pleasure of meeting Dr. Giannis, for whom this award was created at the Hellenic Initiative event of the past. His commitment to education was unparalleled, and this is a topic that I, too, am deeply passionate about. I've endowed chairs in business and philosophy at my alma mater, Illinois Tech. I believe anything we can do to help motivate children and future generations to advance their education is worthwhile. I also serve as chairman of the National Hellenic Museum in Chicago, where it is our mission to remember our heritage and motivate future generations. Providing a foundation is extremely important to our children today. I strongly believe you don't know where you're going unless you know where you came from. Thank you so much for this award. I appreciate it very much.
Mr. John Calamos, founder, chairman, and global chief investment officer, Calamos Investments 2020 Ideagen Global Leader Award recipient. Thank you for your inspiration. Thank you for your leadership. And thank you for all you've done to help humanity across the planet.
Thank you, George.